My name is Julia Kahn. I go to Barnard College and I study political science. A lot of different reasons. Being totally honest, I go to school across the country from my family, and it seemed like a really great opportunity to get to do security work an hour and a half away from my family in the Bay Area. Monterey is lovely, and it was just a nice way to get a sense of a field that I had very little exposure to outside of, one day in a political theory class about game theory and nuclear weapons. I just felt very like I had no information and no pathway to gaining information into this very important field of nonproliferation, and this internship seemed like the perfect way and the perfect place to do that. I'm working on the NTI grant right now, so it's a lot of different updating country profiles and figuring out different export control regime changes that have happened in the past year, so mostly just going through all of the current information that they have and updating it. I'm working on researching the role of third-party mitigation in de-escalating conflicts between nuclear-armed India and Pakistan. I think that the South Asian nuclear question is very complicated, and it's interesting to see how, as superpower dynamics differ globally, the way that affects these regional nuclear crises. 8:30, walk through the door. Usually the first 10 to 15 minutes we're making coffee, checking in with each other, figuring out. I like to make a plan for the day at the start of the day so that I know what I'm going to do. We always have lectures at 10, so that first chunk of time in the morning is a really valuable time to answer all my emails and finish up any kind of tasks that take 45 minutes to an hour, try to get as many actionable items knocked out as I can. I also feel like my focus is the strongest in the morning, so that's when I do the work that is more critical thinking versus, okay, let me look up this database and just pull all of the files that seem relevant. Mornings are really my time to think about what I want to do that day and do some more high-level critical thinking. We have lectures most days at 10. Different people come in and talk to us about different substantive issues. Those are nice. 2-hour block, 10 to 12. Then at noon, usually take half an hour for lunch. And then the second half of the day really varies day to day. I try to spend some time working on NTI initiatives, whether that's country profiles or we've got a brag book where you just find all the times the NTI was mentioned. Afternoons are usually when I try to schedule my meetings with different, either phone calls with people in the DC office to check in on projects, or there's a lot of people at MIS who have a lot of expertise on the issues that I've been researching. So usually if I get stuck, I take the afternoons to go meet with the librarians or other faculty at MIS to figure out where I can go from there on my different research tasks. So today was the last day of our NPT negotiation simulation. I played the United States, which was not the ideal role. It was a lot of kind of recognizing the role that the United States plays in, having a very aggressive nuclear posture. And I definitely learned a lot about ways to find compromises as someone who was playing the United States but doesn't necessarily agree with their stance, finding the holes in it, finding all of that, and working with other interns that, it was exciting to run into someone in the kitchen and say, oh, are you really going to propose that? And texting, iMessaging during the simulation, can you believe what France just did? Can you believe Iran is proposing this? And, for example, I share an office with the intern who was playing the Russian Federation, and being able to have a U.S.-Russian relationship of, the two of us are kind of scheming together because we know how to do that. That was really fun. I've really loved getting to know the 16 other interns. I feel like when I reflect on the individual work that we're all doing, it's really interesting to see all of the different places that you can take nonproliferation. People are doing so many different types of research using so many different tools and exploring different fields, and it's nice to see ways that my peers are also engaging with this field in ways that are different than how I'm engaging, because it leads me to believe that this is not just some veiled, highly technical field that no one can break into, but that everyone can approach it differently. And if the 17 of us have all come in and treated this field in different ways or seen it through different lenses, then it leads me to believe that when we talk a lot about, where is the disconnect between the general public and the field of nonproliferation? And it leads me to believe that that's not a disconnect that needs to be there. Just because people might see this field differently than the experts at the top do doesn't mean that they aren't still interacting with it. And this group of interns has given me the chance to realize that, which is why just getting to see the diverse fields of thought that everyone's bringing to this job has been my favorite part. This is the first field that I've had exposure to where there isn't necessarily just a way to take direct action on an issue, where the entire field itself is kind of building off. It's all constructed on, the NPT or other. The regime itself is constructed layers and layers upon itself. So it's not just like, for example, when I do campaign work, okay, how many people can we get to knock on doors and reach all these people? Or when I do reproductive justice work back at school, it's not just, okay, how many people can we get outside this clinic to escort people in? It's more, what is the framework that we're working under? And you really have to think about what constraints you're under and what space you have, what you can do within the space that you're given. And I think that that's a very valuable skill because there's rules in all fields, and it's nice to know what they are and what you can do within the rules. I definitely want to do policy work. I'm not sure if security is the field that I want to go into, but I feel like I'm learning a lot about generally how nonprofits work, what different grants entail, the confines you're working under, and just the research skills that I've gained have been really valuable. Learning how to use geolocation techniques or just writing in general, I feel like that will help me work in policy. The rec trail is definitely my favorite part of Monterey. I've spent about half of my weekends here and the other half with my family in the Bay Area. And the weekends that I've spent here, I just try to spend as much time outside as possible. I've gone to Lover's Point maybe 4 days a week this whole summer. It's about a 2.5 mile run from where I live, so it's a really nice after-work activity. I taught myself how to watercolor. I've been painting so much, just cooking, painting, running, biking. It's been a summer of recreation. I would say Monterey is really great at free activities. I would let them know that it is not something that you need to have experience with prior to applying, that it's a great way to learn about a field, and the internship is structured with the intention of teaching you and retaining you in the field versus I know some other fields are trying to weed people out with internships. I would let people know that it's hard to find paid security internships, and this is a paid security internship, which means that for me, like, that was why it was on the table and why a lot of things were off the table. So that's definitely a major incentive. And Monterey is lovely, and there's a lot of freedom to do what you want with this internship. So if I would recommend it to anyone who wanted to pursue an individual project related to security issues and disarmament, I'd say that's what I would tell someone.